Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. Boa noite para todos. Muito prazer. Meu nome é Simone Ferreira. Eu vou falar um pouquinho com vocês em português, já vou trocar para inglês. Eu sou orientadora do Education USA PUC Rio. É um prazer estar aqui com vocês hoje e hosting essa session com Purdue University. Então, nós temos vários representantes de Purdue. Eles vão se apresentar. Eu vou mudar agora para inglês. E no final da apresentação eu volto a conversar com vocês. Vocês podem mandar as perguntas de vocês em inglês ou em português no chat. Se vocês preferirem falar em inglês, ótimo. Se vocês quiserem escrever, digitar as perguntas em português, também ótimo, tá bom? Muito obrigada e é um prazer estar aqui com vocês. Queria lembrar que o Education Essay, now I'm going to switch to English. Education Essay is the official source of information on the U.S. higher education. It's a pleasure to be here tonight with you. And I'd like to say thank you for all the panelists, and I'd like to start introducing you all. So we have an amazing group from Purdue University, and we have here, I can introduce you, but would you like to introduce yourselves? But before, I would like also to introduce Heidi Arola, who is here with today with us. Heidi Arola is is the director of global partnership at Purdue University, and thank you for coming, Heidi. And Dr. Atkinson, Diane, and the students, would you like to introduce yourselves?
I'd be happy to start.
Thank you.
And I will probably say less than maybe what our students will. They probably have more to say. But welcome to all of you. This session has been in the works for a few months, and we are glad that that this hour has finally arrived. We think we have a lot of information that will give you a good glimpse of graduate education at Purdue University. I found out, and these numbers are pretty new, we have 54 Brazilians in graduate school at Purdue University now. That's out of just over 10,000 graduate students enrolled on the West Lafayette campus. West Lafayette, Indiana is where we are located. We have another 78 Brazilians who are here as undergraduates, and so altogether a Brazilian community in West Lafayette on this campus of 132. We hope that some of you will consider joining that group, and we would love to get an application from all of you who are listening. Well, anyway, to introduce myself, I am an associate dean in the graduate school. My responsibility would be graduate admissions and graduate records. So I follow students through from before they get here until their graduation day. I've been at it for a long time, but I'll end with this. I've been overseeing graduate admissions for more than 19 years now, but not once in those years have I admitted anyone or really even denied anyone. That's not my job as Associate Dean for graduate admissions. That big task goes to faculty members throughout the university in nearly all cases, who are the ones who review the applications that you send in and who decides to whom offers should be extended. So that's more than enough for me. Welcome. We are glad you're here on what is a really nice fall day in West Lafayette, Indiana. And I hope it's a nice spring day in where you join us from in Brazil. Let's see, Juliana, why don't you go next?
Hello, everybody. My audio is a little bit low, so we are gonna maybe be hearing for another Juliana here, so sorry for that. I'm from Brazil. I'm from Florianopolis, a beautiful island, and I'm here at Purdue since 2015. I came for my master's in civil engineering, and now I'm doing my PhD in civil engineering. I'm gonna give the word to Fernanda.
Yes, thank you, Juliana. So hi everyone, I am Fernando Almeida. I am a second year MBA at Purdue University. I am from São Paulo, Brazil. I heard there is someone there from São Paulo. So I'm glad to hear that. I have 9 years of experience in supply chain and international trade. I worked mainly on the retail industry, and my MBA is concentrated in marketing. And hopefully after 1 year, next May, I will graduate and go into the job market. And it's glad to know you guys. And I don't know, I think I miss a lot of Brazilian food. That's one thing that I want to share very quick. Thank you guys. And I will pass it on to Pedro.
Hello everyone, my name is Pedro Abreu. I am actually from a very small town in Goiás. So I'm from interior de Goiás. My home city is called Silvânia. But actually I did my university in Brasilia. So I come from UNB. I'm from computer science. I'm doing computer science PhD, and I'm a third year PhD student in the programming languages field. And one very interesting thing that I didn't know before coming here is that in the US, we don't need a master's to go to the PhD. So I don't have a master's. So that's a good thing that you can get outside of Brazil, a PhD without a master's. So that's what I'm hoping. I don't think Diane introduced herself.
Thank you. I'm Diane Racel, and I'm the Assistant Director of Graduate Admissions here in the Purdue Graduate School. In my area, we watch over the application processing and work with recruitment, as well as the communications that you might receive from the university. And so I think we'd like to start off. We do have some topics that we'd like to present with you today, and those are tips on creating a stellar application. During our process here today, we welcome your questions. You can type those in the chat box, and as they come in, we will go ahead and offer those to our panel. While we're waiting on questions to arrive, Dr. Atkinson would like to open up with a few questions for our panel.
Thank you, Diane. And I'll get started on some questions for our panel. I'll try to move through these topics pretty quickly. So we'll probably we'll do some trading off and ask different ones from our panel to respond. I think I will start Juliana and Pedro, I think this may be particularly for you. Did you do undergraduate research before coming to Purdue? And if so, how did that help you transition to graduate school?
Well, if Pedro allows me, I think I can answer that question because I did undergrad research through my whole studies. Actually, civil engineering is my second bachelor. So my first bachelor is in journalism. So on my first semester as a civil engineering student during my bachelor, I got an invitation from a professor to start writing the articles from my research group because I had a degree in journalism. And that's how I started to get involved with research since my first semester as a civil engineering student. Then I went for my study abroad in the Netherlands, where I did my final thesis in the dams, about the dams at Netherlands, and I also did research over there. So I was already really involved with research experiments, working in the lab, writing articles. So I think it gave me a really good background information. So when I arrived to Purdue to do my master's and my PhD, I kind of have some knowledge about how research works. So it was really, really great for me because I got to know professors, I got to know research procedures. So if you have the possibility to get in touch with research while you're studying your bachelor degree, it's a really great opportunity.
So I'd also like to mention a couple of things about this question, because it's a question that's very dear to my heart, actually, because I don't think I would be here today if it wasn't for my advisor while I was an undergrad. And I say that because when I was an undergrad and I was working with my advisor, his name is Rodrigo, he looked at me one day and he was like, hey, there is this really cool summer school and this stuff that we're working on. Would you like to go there? And I'm like, I'd really love to, but I don't have the resources. Like, I don't have that sort of money to just get out of Brazil, go all the way to the US, you know, like it's not, that's not really gonna happen. And he's a super chill dude, and he looks at me and is like, we'll figure something out, just apply and then we figure something out. And then I applied to the summer school, and then for my own surprise, I was accepted to the summer school. And then I look at him like, okay, like what's the plan, right? And then he's like, okay, so here's the plan. You're gonna work for this project that I'm in, and then this project is gonna pay for your trip, and then you do all your stuff over there, you come back and you keep working to the end of the year, and we're good. I'm like, yeah, sounds great. That's awesome. I not only got a summer school for free, and I'm also getting like this job, kind of a job offer. This is perfect, right? So I come here, and during the summer school, it's when I figure out all the details for applying for grad school in the US, and it's actually a lot simpler than it looks. Like, I think you guys that are sitting here today, you're actually very ahead of a lot of Brazilians, because most of Brazilians that I know of, they don't even think about the possibility of doing grad schools out of Brazil. So kudos for you. But then I talked with a lot of people. I understood the whole process. I did a lot of research. I did a lot of friends here, and I'm like, I'm definitely going back. There is no way, like, the US is where I want to be. I really felt home about people there. I could make friends. So the bottom line of the story is, thanks to my advisor during undergrad, and I was doing a good job working with him, and he was happy. And I believe this all comes down to the reading how much a mentor can be crucial in life sometimes, you know, like just someone who you can trust, and it will show you the path and will always move you forward. So that's kind of my advice. Like, look for a mentor, look for someone who you can trust, and if you're interested in, just give it a go. Try to do some research. If you like it, try to find someone who you can work well with and will take care of you. And
thanks to both of you. I would say that while most of our graduate programs do have a research component, there are also many that do not. And so we want to make sure that those of you who are thinking, I would like to do a master's degree, but I'm really not that interested in research, those are available in most departments. And in fact, in some areas, doing a thesis is not an option. Fernando, I would guess that you're in a program where no one does a thesis. Is that right?
Yes. On the School of Management, we are not required to have a thesis. That's correct.
And in fact, I suppose it could be done, but I know very few, if any, students who are in the MBA program who choose to do a thesis.
Yeah. You have like, how can I say, like a special class that you can like go into a research, and you have like an advisor, but it's not required.
So let me just say that for most students, if they're coming into a master's program, that is one of the choices that they have to make. Do I want to do a thesis, or do I want to do what we call a non-thesis master's, or sometimes a coursework only master's? So that's a choice. You can do either way. And I think Juliana had a comment she wanted to follow up with.
Yes, well, I came straight. I knew I wanted to go for a PhD, so I did a master's non-thesis, because then I focused just on the thesis of my PhD. So that's what I did. You can choose from master's thesis or non-thesis.
Let's go to Diane. Diane, have we had a question come in?
Yes, we do have a question, Dr. Atkinson, and this individual would like to know if it is possible to apply for more than one program at a time, veterinary clinical science and the basic medical sciences. And they would also like to know if they should contact an advisor in that area before applying.
Let me take this one at first, because I have some good news, I think, for all of you, and this is new for us at Purdue. Since last July 1st, we have been, in July, we unveiled something called the Unified Application. While you've always been able to apply to more than one program at Purdue, it took 2 separate applications or 3 separate applications if you wanted to apply to 2 or 3 programs. Now, since July 1, it doesn't. You can apply for a maximum of 3 programs with 1 application, and I think you'll be very happy to hear this, 1 application fee, which the application fee is $75 for international applicants. So the quick answer there is yes. To the person who asked this question, you can apply to those 2 graduate programs, and you can apply to another one too. One that I might suggest that you take a look at would be our interdisciplinary life sciences program, if that's what you're interested in. It's a very good program. It's been around a little while. It takes a little bit different approach to doctoral education, and I can speak about that if there are questions. But and follow up, what was the second part of that question?
They should contact
Yes, the advisor, and I am putting the requirements page link in the chat right now, Tom, while you talk about that.
And I would suggest there that you start with the graduate contact. And Diane, I don't know if it's possible for you to put in a link where they could email the graduate contact.
Yeah.
That would probably be the first suggestion. If you do, these are people who often are the advisors in the departments. They are administrators, they are administrative assistants, but there are people who work every day with graduate students. And I think that would be a good place if you have specific questions about applying to a department that you start with them. Now, I think if you are reading the research of a particular professor, you're really intrigued by it, you'd like to follow up, it sounds like maybe that professor is doing research in a lab that you would like to join, I think it's okay to reach out and make contact after you've done your homework with a faculty member as well.
So when I was applying, I got this really good tip about how to effectively contact a potential advisor, right? And first of all, you have to understand that the admission process is not in the hand of the advisor himself, but if the advisor likes you and thinks you are a very good match, he can be kind of your champion. He can always try to push your application forward together with the other professors. And that's huge. So if you get a professor to really like what you're doing, he can really help you, really move your things forward. But now you also have to understand that professors are very, very busy human beings. It's hard for them to follow up with all the emails that they get on a daily basis. So the advice that I got when I was applying is, first of all, really do your homework before contacting a professor. Try to understand what he's doing, what are his goals in his research. And a really good email would be a question about some of his paper, let's say, like not only you're gonna be showing that you did a really good homework, but also that you can kind of understand something, and you already have this kind of research mindset, you know. So and also you're kind of tricking the professor into answering you, because kind of when someone is doing research, it's kind of unpolite to not answer a research question. So that would be my advice to you. Really do your homework and understand that professors are very busy people, and be respectful to that.
Diane, is there another question that's come in?
No, not yet. I was just typing in the chat box there. Would they visit the link? The best way.
You do have a question in Portuguese. If you want, I could maybe translate that for you.
Please.
Sure.
Okay, let's see how good I am at simultaneous translation. So as for COVID-19, I would like to know if there was some delay with research of current grad students and if that is affecting the acceptance of new students.
Well, I think, you know, let's hear from our two students who are doing research. How has COVID-19 impacted your time in the lab, your research, your dissertations?
Well, this semester, it's not really a big problem because we are allowed to go back to the lab with some restrictions. So we cannot be everybody together in the same time on the lab. So for sure, we have to manage our schedules a little bit better. Last semester, it was a little bit more complicated. When COVID-19 just arrived, we actually, after the spring break, we closed the lab. So I wasn't able to finish some of my experiments that I'm doing this semester. And I was just working from home on writing my thesis and writing articles and those kind of things. But you also need time for that. So I cannot complain that much because sometimes we complain that we spend too much time in the lab and we don't have time to write the articles itself. So it was a nice time to focus on that. This semester is kind of fine because I'm working like part remotely from home and part going to the lab with all the precautions, with masks and everything. And I'm trying to work more like alone, well, to avoid like a lab full of people. So that's the only precautions that we're trying to manage our schedule to avoid everybody being in the lab all the same time. So that's basically it.
And let's get a perspective from Fernando. I mean, you're not in a lab, but what about courses? Are all of your courses in the MBA program meeting this semester, or are some in some kind of a hybrid, offered in a hybrid manner?
Yeah, so this semester I am taking 5 classes, and 4 of them are in a hybrid manner. So for example, if for one class I have sessions on Monday and Wednesday. For example, Monday I have in class, and Wednesday it will be like an online class in Zoom, for example. And the days that we are in class, we have 50% of the capacity of the room filled, and we are social distanced, and we have all the healthy measures, and we wear our masks. And on the days that we are having online, the professors always try to involve everybody. The students that are online, we can ask questions on the Zoom like this, and they have like an assistant or someone to help asking those questions, and we can interact. So it's different, but we're still getting the experience. Yeah.
And before we go on to the next question, I would just add, this surprised us all greatly, but we have a record number of graduate students enrolled at Purdue this fall, just over 10,000. And, you know, middle of last summer, we would never have expected that. Diane, another question?
Yes, this is for the entire panel. What golden tip would graduate students give to anyone who intends to apply? What do you think stood out about your application?
Pedro, do you want to start?
Sure. So the first thing that pops out of my head is really putting the effort to write down a really good, what's the name of that letter that you,
The statement of
purpose.
Statement of purpose. Don't undervalue the value of that document. That document is very, very important. It's going to tell a lot about you. Put a lot of effort, all the effort that you can, to have this really golden statement of purpose, because that's that's a really good document. So put your research, how to write a really good statement of purpose. I'm not going to go into the details, what makes a really good one. There's plenty of resource on the internet that you can rely on. And the second thing that I would think is just having a good CV. So having internships, having research experience, having people that you can rely that is going to give you good letter of recommendations, and you can only get that by working with good people. So it all comes down to actually having a good path during your graduation, right?
What do you think, Juliana?
Well, my tip for someone who is applying, I think it's also really basic thing, like really be organized, pay attention to deadlines. You know, sometimes people like to do everything on the last minute, and you need recommendation letters. You need to write a really good statement of purpose, and you cannot do this in like, oh, I can write in 1 hour. No, you really need to take your time and write and revise, and all those things take some time. And some people don't imagine like how much stuff you have to organize, and some people get delayed, you know, and it's not really nice when you're missing something, you're missing a document that you may have it and could be the difference for you to be accepted or not, and just because of lack of organization and you lose a deadline, you know. So
yeah, the translation of stuff as well, that also, yeah.
Yes, exactly. That is a good point, you know, because especially we're from Brazil. So if you graduated from a Brazilian university, you need to have everything translated. Those things take time. So, you know, always, and you know, Brazilians, sometimes they promise you a document will be ready in 1 day, and that document is not ready on that day. So take some time, that things may delay, you know.
That happens to Americans too, Juliana. Fernando, what would your tip be?
Yeah, I just want to confirm everything that they said. I mean, I am a spreadsheet guy, so I would always recommend to like open a spreadsheet, start writing down those deadlines. And if you're applying for different programs, you have to make sure you put the different deadlines for those. And just as Pedro said, when you're writing your state of purpose, you have to have that one question in mind. Why I am the right candidate for that program. So you have to make sure to put everything there that makes you stand out and makes you align with the program. So another tip would be to research on the university. What are the strengths of that university on the field that you are applying? And you have to make sure that your intentions are aligned with the intentions of the university. Yeah, that's it, I would say.
Well, I think we've heard 7 or 8 tips altogether so far, and I'm going to just reemphasize one tip that I want you to walk away from me, and that is, when you apply, and we hope you will apply to Purdue, remember my tip is to apply not for just one program. Let's increase your chances of being admitted. Apply to 2 or even 3 if you can find those that are of interest to you. That'll, I think, increase your chances of being admitted and having a chance to come to Purdue if you want to do that. I think I saw another question come in, Diane.
Yes. For international students, how did you prepare financially for this opportunity? What support did the department provide for the initial semester? And if it is possible to arrive in the country only with money for the first semester and have job opportunities or scholarships for the next semesters?
It's a great question. And since it's about money and finance, let's go to our MBA student first.
All right, I was expecting that. Yeah, David, I would say that's a very important matter, I would say. And I would share my own experience. So I had to save a little bit of money, and I was blessed that the dollar 1 year and 6 months ago were 3.9 cents. So, and now we are on 5.5. So yeah, I was blessed a little bit about that because the currency was playing. I mean, I was complaining at that time because it was 3, and now that it's 5, I feel that I'm blessed. But yeah, so you have to, I would say, prepare financially, save some money, like personal money. And for international students, there are companies that can, that work with student loans that can help you financing your program. And I don't know about the other programs, but for the master's and MBA programs, Purdue has a very aggressive scholarship. So I received a very, very, very good scholarship that covered more than a half of my costs, tuition costs here. And also, Purdue helps us, giving us what we call graduate assistantships, which we work for a few hours in the week for the school, and we receive some money for that. And it's a very good money, and thinking that we are in a very affordable city, that's a very good option. So yeah, just to summarize, I would say, yeah, personal savings. You have private companies that have student loans, and also Purdue have very good scholarships and graduate assistantships. That I would say that this is some of the financial help or assistance that we have.
Pedro, what's your experience been?
Right. So in computer science, how it works is that together with your PhD offer letter, they provide you a solid 2-year guarantee of TA assistantship. And what that means is that for 2 years, you are guaranteed that the department will find you a TA position. And what the TAs are basically monitoria in Brazil. So basically you are helping the students, you are lecturing sometimes, you are grading, you are doing something related to teaching. You're a teaching assistant. That's what TA stands for. For the first 2 years, you are guaranteed to find something. That's in computer science department. And that was I'm not sure about the other departments, but with most of my friends who I talked with, that's kind of the case for the PhD program. For the master's program, you are not properly guaranteed that you're gonna get one of these positions, but in computer science, at least, the odds are very high that they can match you on something, because computer science here at Purdue is huge. So they always have a lot of opportunities going on. And this TA scholarship, this TA position also covers for all your tuition. So in my case, particularly, the only money that I had to come with was my first, I don't know, like month or 2. The rest I could completely survive out of working for the university. And that was a very big concern for me coming from Brazil, because I didn't have enough money to pay for tuition or for my expenses here. I wouldn't survive here for like, I don't know, like maybe 3 months mostly. So, and then I'm still a TA, but after some time doing some research, you can find an RA position after that. And what an RA means is a research assistant. So what basically means is that your advisor is paying you to do your research, and how they get that money is from grants, and that's some departmental things. And there is also the case that you can also get a fellowship, but now I'm not completely familiar of what are the in workings of that here. But that's also an option. So
let me make a quick comment before we pass to Juliana to hear what she has done to assistantships and so on. But let me give you an example. Yes, if you have an assistantship, and most of them are for 20 hours a week, where you work in some capacity, teaching, research, professional service to the university, and the salary is modest. But here's what I think is really nice. If you have that, your tuition goes from about $15,000 per semester, and some programs are more, but about $15,000 for most programs. And it goes down to, and this is almost unbelievable, $298 is the graduate staff fee. So if you have even a job that's 10 hours a week for the university, an assistantship, you're paying, you know, less than $300. And maybe, Juliana, you'll need to kind of translate what $300 is in Brazil, but that's a really, really good deal. And in addition to that, when you're a graduate staff member, you also get things like vacation and health insurance and things like that. And so it can be a really good deal if you are offered an assistantship at the time of your admission. And that's often when it happens. What do you have to add, Juliana? How much is $300 in Brazil?
Well, let's multiply the dollar nowadays. It's what, 5.6? So that's basically it. But it's not much, the fees for the students that we have to pay if you have an assistantship. I also do have assistantship, but I would like to mention that I arrived here with a different type of funding that some Brazilians could look for. I always, during my bachelor and also during my master's and PhD, I got funded by the CNPq, that it's, and CAPES, that are Brazilian institutions that funded students from research, you know. So and we still receive students. I still have students in my research group who got funded from CAPES, that Brazilian Institute of Technology and Education or something like that. So for sure, like I start my process to come to Purdue like with 2 years in advance, because I didn't know about all the scholarships that the Purdue has to offer you. I didn't know about anything. So I was just searching about other scholarships, and I learned that not just Purdue has options, but for example, you can apply to Fulbright scholarships. Even scholarships, for example, when I arrived at Purdue, I applied to scholarships focused on engineering careers that are scholarships funded by companies. And I got like $5,000 here, $10,000 there from companies that I just applied for different scholarships. And so there's so many options. And I even wrote an article, and it's published on the Purdue website, about how to get funded, right, Diane? That
Yeah.
it's so I am a global ambassador, and if you see, that's where to find the money. So I wrote an article about that, talking about so many options that you can find how to fund your studies abroad. So Purdue has many assistantships, and now I do not work for my professors. I work for university residences, and I got my graduate assistantship from them, and I love my job, and it's a time that I have to go out of my lab and do something different. And I also have lots of fun with my students.
We may have time for about one more question before we need to turn it over to you, Diane. What do you think?
Sure. We do not have another question in here as of the moment. Is there another topic we haven't covered that you think is important?
Well, let's talk a little bit about some basics, like, because some folks may have them, about the GRE, GMAT, English proficiency scores. Those are kind of critical things as you get ready to make application. How did you take TOEFL? Did you take IELTS? How did you go about preparing for that? Or was that really not much of an issue for you? Pedro?
Right. So yeah, David is saying here, or David, he's saying here at the chat, he's asking if Purdue has waived the GRE. So I believe it depends on the department, right? Some departments might still ask for the GRE, but most don't. Is that correct, Tom?
That is right. And I think that's an important outcome of this question, and that is the GRE or the GMAT, those are not graduate school requirements. We do not require those. Some departments do, and look at, we have a website on our admissions webpage about requirements, and that is where you could find out if it is if it is required. I would say about half of our departments no longer require the GRE. Now, the graduate school will require from all of you who whose native language is not English, and I would guess that's probably just about all of you, we will require you to establish English proficiency. Usually that's through the TOEFL IBT.
Yeah.
Right now, there's a TOEFL IBT at home test. We take that. We also take the IELTS, and we take the IELTS indicator test. So that's kind of like an at-home test for IELTS. So we are trying to be flexible. We did take Duolingo for a short while this summer, but we discontinued that August 1. And so we are not accepting that score. So don't go out and take that for the purpose of applying to Purdue. I would say overall, we require an overall score of 80. We do have, it's pretty low, I think, compared to many places. And we do that on purpose. We do that because we think it's just enough for you to come here and have a successful first semester. And we know that during your first semester here, your English language skills are going to increase dramatically. And so that's a score that works for us, and that's what we require on the TOEFL IBT.
So yeah, for me, talking about the GRE, Purdue not requiring it was pretty big for me because, well, even though I still studied for it for quite a long, like I think I said for almost 3 months, I was studying very hard on it, and I don't think I got a good score on the GRE because I was applying for other schools as well. And Purdue not requiring GRE got my chances a lot higher, and I was very glad about it. Now TOEFL, I'd say it's a lot easier exam. I particularly wasn't extremely concerned about it. If you think that you can understand and talk properly and read text, you should probably be good. But it's always a good thing to sit down and put in the time to get some studies done.
Juliana, was the GRE required for you in civil engineering?
Yes, GRE was one of the requirements. And I remember that I thought that it was like, okay, just one other exam. And then I went and I take it. And then I said like, oh, my grades look bad. You know, I didn't study at all. And then I decided to take it again and put some time and some effort. Even though that there's no minimum grade requirement, the exam is required. But even though I didn't feel comfortable to send something with bad grades, so I took it again. And you just need to put some time and effort to study for the GRE. It's not a big deal. It's in the same format as the TOEFL exam. You know, it's a computer-based exam, and you just have to learn some vocab and pay attention to some math. But if you already have a bachelor degree, it's not going to be a big deal. It's nothing hard. Can be harder if your level of English is not that good, because then can make things a little bit more complicated, because you're not just trying to understand the exam itself, you're trying to understand the questions in English. So focus on get your English good and then go to your GRE. I would recommend that.
Fernando, did Cranor School of Management require GMAT or GRE?
Yes, you can use both. GMAT or GRE, and I believe that for this year they waived the GMAT requirement because of COVID and everything. And yes, I would just to complement what they said, yeah, you have to practice a lot and make sure you're confident with your English, and you'll be fine. If you are taking a course that a program that requires a GMAT or a GRE, just make some research on which one will be more advantage for you based on your strengths. And what else? For TOEFL, I would say, again, just like understand very, very well what the exam will be. You have pretty much of free material for preparation on the internet that you can find, some frameworks that you can use. So it's not, it will be a little bit time consuming, but it's not difficult. I think we all can get that done. Yeah.
Very good. before we turn it over to Diane, I think we're getting about ready for you, Diane, and your remarks. But I want to let everyone know this. We have about 30 different application fee waiver programs available in the graduate school. And while many of them may not fit you as an international applicant in Brazil, there is one that does. And because Education USA is sponsoring this webinar, I want to call it out, and that is, we give an application fee waiver. You can save yourself $75 and still apply to 3 programs at Purdue if you are an Education USA Opportunity Fund recipient. I'm looking at it on our website right now. And you just have to provide a copy of the award letter that you received from Education USA, and we are glad to honor that and to waive your application fee. So keep that in mind if it is applicable. Maybe we transition now, Diane, to you.
And Dr. Atkinson, let me just say something. And in fact, we have opportunity funds participants applying to Purdue this year. So you guys are going to hear from us.
Oh,
Thank
good.
You.
Good.
And some of them, by the way, some of them are here in the meeting.
Fantastic.
Monique, for example, Monique Rangel, she's right here. And she's one of the participants. Josimo is also one of the participants, and they are
wonderful.
Here. Thank you.
Okay. In answer to the question that just came into the chat box, please look into the requirements page. Under each program and area of interest, you will find the TOEFL requirements there that are listed for each program, and we adhere to those requirements. However, we are moving towards a more holistic approach in our review of our applications, and so you want to try to be as close as you can to those numbers that you see listed there. But if you're very, very close, I would not let that stop you from applying.
Except for TOEFL, I would say. And that would be, it's not our choice. Years ago, we would often give a waiver if someone was a point or 2 off, but we are not able to do that. Our department, our United States Department of Homeland Security, requires that people fully meet the English proficiency requirements that we set. So if you don't meet our minimums there, try again.
Okay, and there are some courses that you can take, I believe, online to help you bring that score up as well. Okay, well, if we can transition now, I think in the presentation about the Purdue Graduate School, you're going to hear a little recap of several of the things that our panelists shared with you today. So let me share my screen and we will get started. Okay, so I'd like to welcome you again to the overview of the Purdue University Graduate School. We're an institution where people bring their best and learn to build a better world together. Thank you again for joining us today. Let's begin with a brief overview of Purdue University. Purdue is a public land-grant university located in West Lafayette, Indiana, which is in the Midwest region of the United States. If I had to capture the character of the university in a couple sentences, I would say, at Purdue, we engage in innovative and world-changing graduate research and discovery. Together, our graduate students and faculty strive to develop practical solutions to the world's toughest challenges, persistently pursuing the next giant leap. The total graduate student population on the West Lafayette campus, as Dr. Atkinson stated earlier, is over 10,000 students strong. Purdue's graduate population is quite diverse and includes students from all over the world. Our international students represent nearly 39% of our total graduate population and hail from over 125 different countries. The Purdue Graduate School contains 10 academic colleges that offer a wide variety of competitive graduate programs. Many of those programs are recognized worldwide as top-rated master's and PhD programs. So whether you are beginning your graduate level studies or continuing to build your knowledge base, Purdue offers options to support nearly every academic path, including certificates, non-degree, and online options, as well as licensures. As you begin to narrow your graduate school options, you may want to visit the Purdue Graduate School website. It is filled with great information about the graduate school journey. As you can see on the slide, most information related to the application process is located under the Admissions tab in the primary navigation bar. While we are talking about the website, I would also like to share an exciting new feature that's coming soon to assist students in discerning next steps. The graduate school will be launching an easy-to-use graduate degree exploration tool that will help students determine what the path forward might look like in their program of interest. Our goal is to help prospective students make wise career and advanced education choices. The updated web pages will include data about job placement, funding, and rankings, in addition to general program content and application requirements. The projected launch date for these pages is late fall. The QR code on the slide will take you directly to the current program requirements pages. Please bookmark your program of interest and check back throughout the upcoming months to review these exciting new features. If you are wondering about the next steps and the overall timeline for applying to graduate school, this slide highlights the steps that need to be completed before the end of the year. It is very important to stay organized, as our panelists described, in order to meet all your application deadlines. Items of high priority this fall include completing required testing, requesting your transcripts, and contacting your recommenders. All of these tasks should be completed well in advance of your application deadlines. When you begin applying to higher education institutions, please keep the Purdue Graduate School's new applications process in mind, as well as the knowledge that Purdue has not raised its tuition for 9 years in a row. In July 2020, the Purdue Graduate School began offering graduate applicants the ability to apply for multiple graduate majors and/or Purdue campuses with one application for one application fee. The limit of graduate program combinations per application is 3. Applicants can rank their selections in priority order. There is no extra charge to add a second or third choice selection to your application. The application fee will remain the same, whether you apply to 1, 2, or 3 graduate majors and/or campus combinations. The application fee for international students, as Dr. Atkinson mentioned earlier, is $75 US. We feel this new application process will truly open doors for those who desire a Purdue graduate education, especially those who are undecided about their major and those who have concerns about meeting program requirements in a particular program. Next, I would like to review some of the basic elements included in the Purdue Graduate School application. Some of these elements may require a little different approach if you are applying to more than one graduate major and/or Purdue campus. Let's begin with the statement of purpose. If you are applying to more than one Purdue graduate program, you will only be required to submit one statement of purpose. So be sure to write an all-inclusive statement of purpose that supports your suitability for all graduate programs selected on your application. Remember, a statement of purpose is typically about 500 words and explains your interest in undertaking or continuing graduate study, your research interests, and the reasons you want to study at a particular institution, as well as your professional plans and career goals. You will also want to highlight any special abilities, achievements, and/or professional history that supports your capability of succeeding graduate school, as well as any special circumstances you would like to have taken into consideration. Next, let's talk about letters of recommendation. If you are applying to more than one Purdue graduate program, we highly suggest you encourage your recommenders to write all-inclusive letters that support your suitability for all the graduate programs selected on your application. The number of letters of recommendation you submit will be determined by one of the programs to which you are applying. The program that requires the highest number of letters of recommendation will determine the number of letters you submit. The typical number of required letters is 3, but that can vary by program. So be sure to check program requirements for all of your program selections. To ensure your letters of recommendation highlight your strengths, provide your recommenders with information that will help them with write a strong letter. Suggested information to send with your letter request is listed on the slide. Remember, faculty members receive many requests for letters, so it is wise to plan ahead, as you heard earlier, and make your request at least 6 to 8 weeks before your application deadline. Standardized test scores. Obtaining standardized test scores has become a real challenge for graduate school applicants this year. Fortunately, trusted test providers have created at-home test options for the GRE and GMAT, as well as the TOEFL IBT and IELTS. It is our understanding that at-home testing will continue to be available until official testing centers reopen. The scores from at-home tests are considered to be the equivalent to the tests offered by official ETS and IELTS testing centers, and are regarded as such by advanced education institutions, including Purdue University. Before we leave this subject, I would also like to say that the GRE is not a graduate school requirement, as Dr. Atkinson mentioned earlier. However, some Purdue graduate programs still require the GRE. To check the requirements for your programs of interest, see the program requirements page we discussed earlier. Purdue requires applicants to provide official transcripts and documents for every institution of higher education attended, regardless of whether or not a degree was received. Applicants must also provide a diploma for each degree conferred, unless the degree conferred is printed on the official institution transcript. Keep in mind, scans of official transcripts and documents that are uploaded to your application are not considered official documents. You must have the original official transcripts and documents sent directly to Purdue by the institution, or bring the official documents to the graduate school office when you arrive on campus. That completes our review of the Purdue application requirements. If you would like to review other commonly asked questions about the Purdue application process, please see our prospective students FAQ. A link to the FAQ can be found under the Admissions tab in the main navigation bar of our website. In closing, I would like to leave you with some points to consider when choosing a graduate school. Before making an investment in advanced education, I encourage you to do your research. Review the curriculum and rankings of the graduate programs that match your interests, and explore overall institution successes, as well as the support offered to graduate students by faculty and staff. For example, when researching Purdue University, you will find that Purdue is a known leader in worldwide discovery and innovation. Our students and faculty work together to produce impactful research that moves the world forward and are often recognized publicly for their accomplishments. The Purdue campuses are also known for their cutting-edge facilities and dedicated faculty, boasting over 400 research labs and 130+ research centers and institutes. Our graduate students are also strongly supported by the graduate school staff through a variety of services and outstanding professional development workshops, as well as innovative programs and opportunities that enable all students to thrive in a diverse global environment. Beyond academics, life balance is also very important when pursuing a graduate degree. At Purdue, you will find hundreds of opportunities to interact with others professionally and socially on campus and in the local community. Our West Lafayette community is very welcoming to students and was recently named the 6th best small college town in America by WalletHub. The Purdue West Lafayette campus is also ranked among the top 10 safest campuses in the United States. As you can see, Purdue University is an excellent all-around choice for graduate studies based on the criteria we considered, which you see on the slide. I would encourage you to take some time to investigate our programs further and watch one of our virtual campus tours to decide for yourself. Thank you again for joining us today. Do any of the panelists or Dr. Atkinson have a final comment that they would like to make before we close?
I'll look to our students first. A final word for our audience today.
I can say something very quick. I would say don't let any financial constraints hold you back from your graduate degree goals. And also, you can find me on LinkedIn. If someone has additional questions, I'll be glad to answer and to schedule an one-on-one to answer additional questions.
That's a great
Good
offer.
luck, guys.
Thank you. Great offer.
I would also add to what Fernando said, don't let anyone get across your will to come to the abroad to do grad school. It is hard. It will make you get out of your comfort zone by a lot, and a lot of people around you will not understand what you're trying to accomplish, but do it anyways. Prove them wrong. I also put myself on the same position as Fernando. I'm also on LinkedIn. If you want to talk, if you want to chat, I also made some blog posts explaining this whole process as well. I'm going to leave the link on the chat if anyone is interested. I'm also available if anyone has any questions.
Great. Juliana, a final word?
Yeah, I cannot agree more with the guys. I heard so many stories. I remember when I want to apply for a PhD without even have a master's, people call me crazy. But that's possible, and I'm here. So don't hold anything back. Also, like the guys, you can find me on LinkedIn as well, Juliana Pereira, and I can help you. I also help a bunch of students, and some of them already came to Purdue, so I'm pretty happy with that. So that we're pushing our friends to join us. And also, just one last thing, if you think about all the requirements, when you're everything ready, you got accepted to Purdue, just check the requirements to get your visa, because that's another thing that some people forget about it. So check everything that is necessary to get your visa. So I hope you can join us at Purdue in the next semester, and it will be a fun adventure.
And my final word is, when you apply to at least 2 and maybe even 3 programs. There you have it.
Thank you all for coming today. We really appreciate your interest. If you have specific questions, we encourage you to email those to gradinfo@purdue.edu.
Thank you, Diane. Thank you, Professor and Dr. Atkinson. And thank you for the students. Thank you. Hearing your testimony was so important, and I think you inspired other students. Thank you so much. I have just one question for you, Diane. Maybe you already said that, but I don't remember you mentioned. Do you require credential evaluation for, the transcripts and the documents, the students' documents?
Yes, they need to be validated. They need to be official. So it is possible to use a third party and send that official document to us directly, but it must come directly from that third party to the Purdue Graduate School, or you can go to your all of the institutions that you attended and ask them to send it directly from that institution to the Purdue Graduate School. That is our preference. It is possible to have them mailed as well. However, it needs to be sealed from the institution, unopened, and arrive to the university in that manner.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you for all you share with everyone today. The session is recorded, and we will be sharing the recorded link to our YouTube channel, Education USA Brazil YouTube channel. And we have lots of events coming in the following weeks. And next week and the 2 last weeks of October, we are going to have a webinar series related to LLM Masters in Law in the US. So if you want to join us, we are going to have events every day from Monday I think it's 19 until the last Friday of October. And if you go to our website, www.educationusa.org.br, you are going to see our agenda with our events. Thank you, everyone. Have a good night. And we are looking forward to hosting you in other events.
Okay, sounds good.
Thank you.
Good night. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.